Well, this is Pat Walker, Mission Winners. I'm making a training video here on buying breakouts, but more importantly, how to effectively manage failed breakouts. Everybody can sit there and look at, oh, look at this one go, look what this one go. Well, what happens when they don't? What do we do? What can we look for to help us? Telltale signs and then how to manage it. So let's go through and take a look at a few of these. Here's one right here, AMN. It lifts off. What's missing on this little breakout here, right here, folks? What is it? There's no volume. Look at that. Remember, good breakouts need both price and volume. This lifts across these tops, there's no volume. And what does it do the next day? It just gives it right back. Point one, look for volume. And if it's not there, take note of it and say, I need to be cautious with this. And the next day it just drops and falls. Just like that. This is example one. We're going to go through a bunch of these right now, just to help us train our eyes and mind on what to do. And here's another one. Avgo. Avgo breaks out right here. Lifts off right here. Look at the volume pickup. It's good. It's a base breakout and it lifts. Note something. It closed, but it didn't close near the highs. That is a slight negative. The next day, it falls a little bit. You've got to be careful with that. Good breakouts push away. The next day, it gaps up, it runs up, and reverses down. If you get a situation like this with not a lot of power, you have to be careful because this stock closed about what, 6 points off the highs? That's number one. You got to watch that. They're not supposed to do that. Closed just above the midpoint of its range. Strong breakouts close near the top of their range. Inside bar, and then you gaps up and reverses down. On this bar, you have to sell. You've got to manage it, and it avoids this. There we go. Let's look for another one. Cliff, right here, breaks out, runs up. What's one of our tactics that we use? We sell some into strength, especially on this reversal bar. See that bar right there? It breaks out on heavy volume, and the next day it gaps up, runs up, and reverses down on heavy volume. That is a telltale sign that there's a seller up there. The next day it goes up on less volume, and then it drops. Not on heavy volume, but it drops on above average volume. If you're buying here, you're okay. If you're buying above here, you have a problem. So how do we manage it? Well, on a bar like this with a gift of this magnitude, you sell some into strength. If it gaps up and runs up and starts to reverse down, you sell more. And you make sure that when it starts tailing back in, you sell the rest. And you can say, yes, but it's going up again. When it's doing this, a breakout that's failed, I don't know the future. By selling some, I know I've guaranteed myself a profit. Let's look at some more. Here's another example. This stock was written up in IBD. Lifts through tops on good volume. You see that base right there? It lifts through tops. The next day, it gaps up. See the open? Runs up and reverses down. Good breakouts normally don't do that. That puts us on high alert. When that happens, we're on high alert. The next day, it gaps up, runs up, starts to reverse down below that pivot. What do we have to do? Sell. That would have been a haircut. And again, you can say, well, it came back. No, one time right here, you're down over 10 points, 13 points. I'm not going to do that. That's a 10% loss. So that's why we manage it. Volume's the power that lifts the ship off the pad, the fuel. Breaks out, lifts up, good volume on this bar. Next bar goes higher. Note this bar, it only did average daily volume. This bar, it did even less. That's a red flag, folks. It's telling us there's nobody that wants to buy this stock. And what's it do? The next day it gaps down, lifts up on no volume. You see that? Right there? And then the next day, runs up and reverses down. What do we do in a situation like we didn't buy it, but what do? We manage risk. We get out and avoids problems. We keep losses very small. We're going to find some more. Here's another good example. Restoration Hardware. It breaks out. Look closely at this chart, and I'm going to enlarge this. It breaks above the tops. How did it close on that bar, team? It closed below the pivot. There was a seller up there. There wasn't much power. Volume wasn't that heavy. And again, remember this, the best stocks push through the pivot and stay above it. You start to get action like this, something's wrong. Right there, and you know something's wrong if you don't sell, because the next day you got ripped on a big gap down. You can say, well, it came back. I don't know that at the time. The moral of the story, the best breakouts push through and go. They push away. Let's see if we can find a couple more. And again, people say, oh, we should just talk about positive. No, we've got to analyze these things to get better. All of it. Here's another one. Roku, downward sloping trend line, buy. Lifts through tops, you could buy more. Runs up, what should we do? Sell some into strength. See this bar? This is a good bar. Look at this bar. It lifted, but volume tailed off. Doesn't say sell, but it says, watch me. The next day, gaps down just a hair, lifts up, and then reverses down. Volume was heavy even earlier in the morning. What do we do in a situation like that? We sell some. Please remember, every breakout doesn't work. And I know you all know this, but it needs to be discussed. Why? Because that's the real world. By selling some into strength, all right, we've locked in profits. We are guaranteed profits. If it keeps falling, we sell the rest. And we do not let, if you buy here or if you bought here, especially here, you do not let a good profit turn into a loss. Because if you bought up here at around, say, 465, right now, you're down 45 points. There you go. We don't do that. STLD starts to break out right here. Look at the volume pickup going across these tops. The next day, it gaps down, runs up, and actually closes down below this breakout day. That's a negative. When we see that, what do? And we did. We sell some. The next day, it gaps up, runs up, starts to fade. On that day, it's a breakout that failed. We sell it. It's very important to have plans and tactics for when they work, but it's vitally important to have plans and tactics, rules on what to do when they don't.
Thank you for watching the video. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like. Maybe hit that subscribe button. We come up with new content nearly every day. Also, check out the videos on the right. YouTube recommends the one on the top, and the bottom one is something we thought you might enjoy. See you next time.